Hey photographers, these are not black and silver versions of the same camera. You may recognize the silver Fujifilm X-T30, released in January 2017, and this is the new Fujifilm X-T30 from February 2019, and both are available in either silver or black. Now, other than the increase of 10 Fujifilm name units, the new model has a new sensor, a 26 megapixel APS-C X-Trans type, and a new processor. Fujifilm brands them and the camera as 4th generation. The X-T20 has a 24 megapixel 3rd generation APS-C X-Trans sensor. Now the X-T20 was the junior partner to the X-T2. The X-T30 has the same relationship to the X-T3. Many of its advances and features are incorporated here. Now I'll start this comparison on the outside and then give you a detailed line-by-line comparison of the menus. Let's get physical. They are both small, stylish, well-made cameras, and although the X-T30 is 5mm deeper, they're otherwise identical in size and weight, tipping the scales at 383 grams. Neither has a mode dial, which I feel is Fujifilm's great innovation and distinguishing feature on this and several other models. Instead of having to select the mode and then adjust the setting, you simply adjust the setting, and the camera lets you know what mode that represents. With the shutter dial and aperture ring on A, it's program mode. Adjust the shutter speed, you're in shutter priority. If you also adjust the aperture, you're in manual. Put the shutter back to A, and it's aperture priority. Now, I find this simpler and more intuitive than a mode dial, and they have that in common. But I don't want to dwell on what's the same, so I will skip over most of the features and functions that are identical. You can check out my full reviews in the links below for more details. Both have the same 2.3 million dot viewfinder. The X-T20's refresh rate is 55 frames. The X-T30's is 60 or 100 frames in boost mode. Same million dot touch LCD with the same 90 up, 45 down swivel. On the front, the only difference is the name badge. And they're identical on top and the bottom, including the slightly disguised release for the integrated flash. Same battery, same UHS Type 1 SD card support. Fuji rates the battery life slightly longer on the X-T30. A few differences on the back. The slightly larger thumb rest on the X-T30 includes the key to access the quick menu, and where the X-T20 has the Q key, the X-T30 has a joystick. The X-T20 has a control pad surrounding the menu key. The navigation functionality has moved to the joystick on the X-T30. Now, I find that easier to use, but the X-T20's 4 control pad buttons also provide function key shortcuts. On the left side, the ports are rearranged. The X-T20 has micro B USB 2. The X-T30 has the new C-type USB 3 connector. Both have a 2.5mm micro jack for mic or remote. The USB-C can not only recharge the camera's battery, but it can also be used to power it. And with an adapter, the port also serves as a headphone jack for audio monitoring. Both have ad hoc Wi-Fi to connect to the Fujifilm smartphone app. The X-T30 adds Bluetooth. This comparison has firmware 2.01 on the X-T20, 1.0 on the X-T30. Both offer 5 pages of language options. For image size, at the bottom of the screen, the X-T30's larger resolution means slightly different pixel counts for each, as well as slightly lower image counts for a blank 64GB card. The X-T30 adds the Eterna film simulation designed for video, otherwise the same selection. The X-T30 also adds a color tint option for mono images, and the color chrome effect for deeper tints in shadows. Dynamic range and white balance have switched places, but let me skip ahead to ISO for a minute. On the X-T20, standard settings from 200 to 12,800. On the X-T30, from 160 to 12.8. We'll continue with ISO in a minute, but back to dynamic range. On the X-T20, DR100 is available up to ISO 320 from 400, DR200, DR400 from 800 and up. On the X-T30, all are slightly lower. DR100 is available up to 250 from 320, DR200 is available, DR400 from ISO 640 and up. The X-T30 also offers dynamic range priority, an alternate way to manage, which I found more useful when I tried it on the X-T3. White balance settings with the same shift range have not changed. Custom settings are the same, but on the X-T30 its new options, including mono color tint and color chrome effect, have been added, along with an option to create a custom name. On the X-T30, AF mode options include all, which enables the front dial to select all options, not just size for the current selection. Single point goes from 91 to 325 points on the X-T20 to 117 and 425 on the X-T30. On the focus point selection screen, that looks like this. The X-T20 has 5 sizes, the X-T30 has 6, the added one is smaller. Although both have a hybrid contrast phase detect focus system, on the X-T20 only contrast is available at the edges of the screen. Return to center on the X-T20 with the delete key, on the X-T30 by pressing the joystick. On the X-T30, in addition to the 5 AFC custom presets, a 6th can configure the 3 parameters. The X-T30 can store the focus mode by orientation, a separate mode for portrait and landscape shooting. On the X-T30, the Face and Eye Detect menu is nested. This makes the selection screen easier to read. On the X-T20, Eye Detect is available only in single, not continuous. Anne's face is detected, and after pressing the shutter, so is her eye. On the X-T30, where continuous is supported, as Anne turns, her face and eye are quickly detected. I'll provide a deeper dive on this in the full review. In the MF Assist options, the X-T30 adds a digital microprism option, certain to appeal to some old school types, as well as a 4th color, yellow, to the peaking settings. In drive mode, bracket settings, the X-T30 adds the focus bracket feature found on other recent Fujifilm models. The number of images, the step distance, and the intershot delay, where 0 is continuous, can be set. The X-T30's exposure bracket has more options, selecting frames up to 9 and steps up to 3 EV. The bottom of the screen indicates the 24-step range this will capture. The X-T30's film simulation brackets include Eterna. The X-T20's burst options, 8, 11, and 14 frames, are simple compared to the X-T30. There's a nice info panel on screen to provide additional buffer details for each. 10 and 20 frame per second modes are available with the silent electronic shutter. The 11 and 14 frame modes on the X-T20 are also electronic shutter. The X-T30 continues with a crop to 10, 20, and 30 frame modes. Shooting with manual exposure, focus, and white balance settings, the X-T20's 14 frame mode lasts for just less than 3 seconds before slowing to about 8 per second. The X-T30's 20 frame mode lasts for about a second and then slows to about 8 per second, while the crop 30 frame mode captures 25 images in the first second, slowing to about 10 per after that. The X-T30 inherits the Sports Finder mode from the X-T3, but it works only with the mechanical shutter as indicated in the info box. This takes images from inside the white box displayed on screen, the same 1.25 crop from high-speed burst. This allows you to see objects before they enter the screen. Only medium format JPEGs are supported in this mode. The pre-shot mode, which is available only with electronic shutter and high-speed burst, saves the last few frames between the time you've soft-pressed the shutter and actually released it in burst mode. The X-T20 has 3 shutter modes. On the X-T30, where they should be menued before the Sports Finder and pre-shot, the same 3 are presented with a useful info box indicating the limitations. The X-T30 adds flicker reduction. Now we're back to ISO. On the X-T20, low is 100, high is 25.6 and 51.2. The X-T30 has 3 low settings, 80, 100, and 125, and the default ISO can be set to 160. On the X-T20, video settings are selected from a simple scrolling list, with 4K up to 30 frames, HD and 720 to 60. The X-T30's 3-part selection panel can select 4K in both 17:9 cinema and 16:9 video aspects, also 4K to 30, HD to 60. 720 is not supported. Data rates of 200, 100, and 50 megabits are available. The X-T20's data rate maxes at 100 megabits. On the X-T20, 4K video is limited to 10 minutes, HD to 15. The X-T30's limitations are the same. The X-T30 has a high-speed mode for slow motion. This makes silent recordings at HD resolution. And the X-T30 has a number of settings like film simulation, which are identified with a movie icon, indicating that they're distinct from the same still settings. So here you can set a turner for video, while stills remain at Velvia. In mono, the color tints are available, and more independent settings. White balance, dynamic range, highlight, shadow, color, sharpness, noise reduction, and with a specific 4K implementation. The X-T30 includes F-Log for extended dynamic range and peripheral light correction when using lenses with the M-mount adapter. There are independent focus area, face and eye detect, and focus assist settings, although for video only expanded view and peaking are available. On the X-T20, eye detect isn't available in video mode, and face detect works in the HD modes, but not in 4K. On the X-T30, face and eye works in HD and in 4K as well. Select the left eye and it is detected. Change to the right eye to have it favored for autofocus. On the X-T20, video can be set to record to either card or an external HDMI recorder. HDMI output is 8-bit 422. The X-T30 supports multiple combinations, including 4K to both, with 10-bit 422 output, and independent HD settings. There's an HD standby quality setting. Zebra options from 50 to 100%. The X-T20's audio controls are primitive compared to the X-T30's, where there are independent internal and external settings, as well as controls over the limiter, wind, and low-cut filters. The X-T30 goes on to offer timecode, options for front and back tally lights, and the brilliant movie silent control. When activated, this provides independent touch-activated control of shutter, aperture, exposure compensation, ISO, mic level, wind filter, headphone, film sim, and white balance. This provides the ability to switch between stills and video with independent settings for each, a most valuable and useful feature in a hybrid camera. The X-T30 screen settings include color adjustments for the viewfinder and the LCD. On the X-T20, only the viewfinder realigns for portrait mode shooting. On the X-T30, the LCD rotates too. The X-T20's preview picture effect has become the X-T30's natural live view. The X-T30 can also display T-stops when a cinema lens, like Fujifilm's MKX series, is used. The X-T30's display custom settings include boost mode, image transfer order, mic level, and guidance messages. And the X-T30 has an information contrast adjustment, which includes dark ambient, which is less obtrusive in dark settings. The X-T30 has options for the focus lever, which I've been calling the joystick. The X-T20's Q menu options has 4 screens. The X-T30 has 5. Additions include color tone for black and white, the chrome effect, derange priority, flicker reduction, and high-speed record. The X-T20's button settings screen has been renamed on the X-T30 to the much simpler function or fun setting. The X-T20's 4 physical controls have become the X-T30's touch swipe modes. Available options have grown from the X-T20's 5 screens to 7 on the X-T30. Mostly it's the same new options that have been added, but Zebra, Movie Silent, and Bluetooth can also be custom keyed. The X-T20's selector buttons can be changed from function keys to select the focus area. On the X-T20, the command dials can be flipped between aperture and shutter. The X-T30 offers a more comprehensive set of options. The X-T30 adds the option to shoot without a card, and the option to have the focus ring rotate in a linear or non-linear way. We're all used to non-linear, where fast adjustments make larger adjustments than slow ones. The X-T30, if you assign white balance to a key, can lock white balance when it's pressed. And the X-T30 offers the option to assign aperture to a command dial. The X-T20 offers a simple on-off for touch and 4 touchpad options. The X-T30 has a double tap setting to zoom while shooting, to disable the swipe functions, and to enable touch during image review, as well as 7 touchpad options. On the X-T20, performance settings were standard and high. On the X-T30, they're normal and boost. On the Save Data menu, Select Folder has been added. The submenu here can also create folders. The X-T30's connection menu adds Bluetooth to pair and configure settings like auto image transfer and to synchronize time and location from a connected phone. The X-T20's general settings set the camera's name and selected whether to resize images. The X-T30's are the same but slightly reconfigured. On the X-T20, GPS setup had its own setting. On the X-T30, they're integrated with the general settings. On the X-T20, reset was buried in general. On the X-T30, it's the last menu option. Whew, I think that covers it, but I know I can trust you to let me know what I might have missed. Thanks for watching. Now, for my more detailed reviews of both cameras, you'll find the links below. And now, shoot until your memory card is full and your battery is empty. Comments below, please keep them civil and relevant, and please subscribe if you do that kind of thing.